Good morning, friends. Welcome back to another episode of GM Philosophy in the Morning. I'm the GM Philosopher. Today I want to talk about narcissistic GMs. What are they? Why are they such a big problem? Well, if you have joined any D&D Discord servers, you've likely heard this discussed. In fact, if you would like to join my Discord, link is in the description. It's free. Jump in and hang out with us. With that being said, I hear many stories, really every week, about narcissistic game masters. Game masters who are narcissists, who take D&D or whatever TTRPG they're playing and make it just actually a bad experience, an objectively bad experience. And here's the worst part about this. New players won't even realize that this is a bad experience, and they might think to themselves, oh, this is normal for D&D, but this is not normal for D&D. And I want to talk about that. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the dangers of a narcissistic GM. I want to talk about how you can identify a narcissistic GM. And maybe this is a little bit controversial. I'm going to talk about how we as GMs maybe need to take a look at ourselves and say to ourselves in the mirror, friend, am I being a game master who is actually contributing in a positive way to my players, or is it possible that I'm exhibiting some of these narcissistic game master traits? It's a little bit of a self-inflection project, a little bit of self-work in that way. But listen, here's the thing that I've really noticed. I've really noticed that there are actually two different types of GMs, really. There are bad narcissistic GMs, okay? And they're just bad. There's no other way to put it. And I'm going to explain why I can draw such a hard line about that. And then there are good GMs who are not perfect, which pretty much everyone else fits into this area. Most game masters, I would say 99% of game masters out there, maybe even more than that, 99.5% of game masters fit into this area. They're good and they're imperfect. I would put myself in this category. I am a good GM, not perfect yet. We're getting there. You know, I've got 20 years of experience under my belt, maybe 20 more years and I'll have it perfected, but definitely not there yet. I have to learn every single week how to improve the craft. However, it's important to note that just because you might make mistakes as a game master does not put you into the bad narcissistic GM category. So let's dive into this. And I want to hear your thoughts on this. Drop me a comment. Let me know your thoughts about this as you watch the video. I would love to hear your perspectives. And hey, if you have any stories of playing in games or running games with narcissistic GMs or narcissistic players, let me know. So, all right, let's dive in. So I asked Google, what is a narcissist? And here's what it said. Here's what the Search Labs AI overview came up with. A narcissist is a person who has an inflated sense of their own importance, constantly seeking admiration and attention from others, often lacking empathy. I think that's an important point. We'll come back to that. For the feelings of others and believing they are superior to most people. Essentially, someone who is excessively self-centered and preoccupied with their own image and needs. Okay, so right there are a couple really interesting points that I think are important when we're looking at game masters and this problem of narcissism in games. And I just want to say that the dynamic of the game master and the players is especially well suited to a bad GM experience, a bad game experience with someone who actually is a narcissist. Now, I'm no psychologist out here, okay? I'm no doctor. I can't diagnose anyone with narcissistic personality disorder, but I can tell you that I have known a few narcissists in my life, and I have enough experience to know that I don't want anything to do with narcissists. You can almost sense it in the way they talk. And part of this is through my work. Like, I have worked in digital marketing for, well, it's been a long time, since 2009, and I have run into narcissists in that industry, and I know within about 15 minutes, I see this is not a person I ever want to speak with again, because you cannot win with a narcissist, because even though they may not make a lick of sense, it's like they don't even stay aware enough of their own possible shortcomings to acknowledge and to grow. And that, I believe, stems from the lack of empathy. It's them wanting to be right all the time kind of thing, and they don't have empathy for others. In order to become a better human, we really need to have empathy for other humans. What is the point in trying to succeed with other humans if you don't care about other humans. There's a point to where, well, if you can fake it good enough, you'll get away with it. But for me, when I look at other humans, I think to myself, okay, I care about whether or not they have a good experience with me. I care about whether or not I hurt their feelings. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. In fact, I have had some videos where I have described my process for example, dealing with shy players. And I had a few comments in that video, people basically telling me, wow, it sounds like you just coddle people. It sounds like you're even condescending in how you coddle them. But I disagree with this. I flat out disagree with this notion, because when I was younger, I used to be a lot more, I would say, aggressive in how I maybe deal with differences of opinion or how I resolve conflict, and I have hurt people's feelings. Now, the thing about it is that when I did hurt people's feelings in my life in the past, I would feel very bad about it. It would make me feel a pretty profound sense of guilt. It would make me feel like, man, that I shouldn't have done that. Right? Even if maybe there was a part of it that was justified, or even if it was for a good reason, the fact that someone got hurt over it, to me, was basically unconscionable. It's like, no, it shouldn't have happened that way. And next time I should try to do it better. And then if we lead into territory where I am coddling in my attempts to resolve conflict, okay, I would rather do that than hurt people. And I would rather just walk away from situations than engage in conflict or do things that are just going to hurt people. Now, I understand that there are aspects of life where you cannot coddle. Maybe if you are in the army, I've never been in the army, but I assume you can't coddle there. I know that in the workplace, there are times when you have to have strict conversations with people who maybe aren't doing their job. And I understand that it is sometimes more caring to be strict with people. I also understand that, parents and children, you cannot always coddle your children. There are times when you're going to have to be strict and really lay the law down so that your children learn how to behave properly. But this is different than a game master sitting at a game table with players. These are totally different worlds. When a game master sits down with the players, we're engaging in a social contract of basically mutual intellectual art creation, storytelling, and fun. There is no part of this where the GM needs to teach these people how to behave right. If there's a player who doesn't know how to behave right, what the GM should probably do is just stop inviting that player. The GM is not here to be a parent or to be the boss of a company. The GM is here to lead a community project. And when I say lead, I mean lead from the front, be a servant leader, be a sacrificial leader, be a leader who puts the players even ahead of themselves. This is what constitutes a good game master. Now, that's not to say that the game master does not deserve to have fun and to stand up for themselves either. It's just to say that the role of the GM here is different than that of an army sergeant or a department manager or a parent as they relate to their children. It is a different sort of thing. It's a lot more like playing a game of pickup basketball at the local basketball court. You all show up there to engage in the activity together and have fun. And if there's a problematic person, your job isn't really to teach them how to be a better person. Your job is to disengage with them and find people who align more with your values. But all of this nuance is lost on narcissists from my perspective. In my observation, narcissists completely lack any of this thought process. Because this thought process actually requires empathy and it requires a certain amount of philosophical think through. In my experience, narcissists believe they are better than everyone else. Okay, that's problem number one. And they don't have empathy is problem number two. And this keeps them from even being able to go down that road of thinking through how to relate to people in a healthy manner. And when I say a healthy manner, and I say relate to people, I mean in the context of D&D. Because what you'll have is you'll have a GM who thinks that every idea they have is the best one. In other words, every idea they have is the one the players should follow. And this is oftentimes times not the case. Any of us who have any experience being a game master will quickly realize that a lot of times what we think the players are going to do is not what the players are going to do. But imagine if you thought that everything you thought the players were going to do was right, and whenever they didn't obey those thoughts in your mind, they were wrong and they needed to be punished and taught a lesson for it. I believe that that is a core mechanism of what goes on in the mind of a narcissistic GM. This is a recipe for complete and total disaster, in my opinion. And it also doesn't surprise me that this is happening. When I hear stories of people playing in games run by narcissists, it's horrifying. And I think to myself, well, no wonder. Think about that inner mechanism where they always think they're right. But now, even with that, let's take a moment and talk about the other part of it, which is the lack of empathy. But real quick before we talk about that, speaking of players doing things the GM didn't expect, do your players ever make decisions that leave you scratching your head wondering, I wonder what we should do now? All of my plot arcs and prep work has gone out the window. Well, if this sounds like a common occurrence at your table, hint, hint, I think this is a common occurrence at every table, I have created the perfect ebook for you. It is called The Ultimate Plot Randomizer. This is a free ebook I give out to people who sign up for my email list. Basically, it lets you roll random plot arcs on the fly using 4 D100 tables. Roll on the hook table, the complication table, the climax table, and even on the wild and wacky table, so you can throw plot arc elements in that your players would never ever see coming. I created this ebook because my players often go off on tangents that leave me needing plot hooks all day for days and days and days. And with this handy ebook, you can print it out, put it with your tools, and basically have it available anytime. Roll some quick percentiles and come up with nearly endless plot hooks for days and days and days that your players will never see coming, that they've never seen before. They'll help you make your games super fun and even more awesome. The link to this is available in the description. If you sign up for my email list, you'll get an autoresponder email that has a download link for this ebook in it within seconds. The email pretty much comes out as soon as you sign up, and then you can grab it, download it, print it out, keep it with your stuff, and boom, you will have plot hooks for days and days. So grab that, keep it with your stuff, and I hope you enjoy it and that it helps. All right, let's get back into the video. So, having a lack of empathy does a couple of really dangerous things when you put it into a game master and player relationship and situation. First of all, as a GM, we really want to be responsive to the apparent emotions of our players. Imagine if you were to see a player kind of like sitting back, looking a little disappointed, not putting themselves forward as much in the game, maybe almost acting like something is wrong. As a game master, it would be pretty important to notice this, but even more importantly, it would be important to care about it and to take some kind of action. This might mean, having an NPC walk up to them in-game and try to kind of bring them back into the game. Or it might even mean pushing pause and saying, hey, I need to grab a drink quick, and then shooting a quick text to that player incognito, basically asking, hey, I just want to check on you. Are you doing okay? Like, these small gestures really help to bind the group together in a camaraderie of friendship and basically caring that makes it a fun, friendly community as opposed to a conflict-oriented or oppositional community. And let's face it, TTRPGs are inherently designed to be cooperative. We're creating a cooperative story together through shared intellectual art. There might be some player versus player elements to that story, but as a general rule, there is no winner in the game. The players either sort of win or fail, succeed or end up slain of their own merits as a group. This is sort of the goal of it, and that's part of what I love about games like D&D. However, for narcissists, this whole idea of empathizing with players is really lost. There is no empathy for other people because the narcissist kind of has to always be right. This is how they think that they're important. This is how they please their own sense of inadequacy. And this sets a dangerous precedent because it sets you up to actually just not be a functional community leader. Imagine this. Imagine a GM who, because they do not empathize with their players, sometimes goes way over the top, sort of having conflict with their players. Maybe one of the players asks if they can do something that's not in the rules, to which the GM replies and maybe 20% more aggressiveness than they need to. No, that's not in the rules. What do you think? I'm stupid, right? Imagine how hurtful just this one phrase, this one, maybe you could call it a mistake. But with a narcissist, it's not necessarily a mistake, and I'll explain why. But just imagine how hurtful such a comment could be to someone. Personally, I don't think there's ever a reason to use this kind of language or aggressiveness in a game setting. And I can say that from experience because I have had conflicts with players in the past. I have made mistakes and I have regretted it. But I also learned from it, and I learned better than to do that. Granted, maybe it took me longer to learn than I should have, right? Because I can be kind of a caveman at times, but I did learn the lesson, and it made my games better. It made my games more fun. It helped me to be a better GM, and it helped me to run games that players enjoy more, and thus it made players want to come back to my games more, and this made my gaming experience better. It made it better for me, literally. It was like good for me to do this, okay? Now, imagine, though, if a game master said that to a player, and then the player got hurt feelings, but then the game master thought that they were wrong, and that they, as the game master, were being attacked because that player had hurt feelings about being talked to that way. Then imagine the game master further punishing that player to teach them a lesson about having hurt feelings over something that was their fault because they were stupid for asking a question. Now, I realize that this probably does not represent 100% of the problems players face when playing with GMs who exhibit narcissistic traits, but I am outlining how quickly this lack of empathy problem could spiral out of control in a social setting that has a power dynamic like D&D does, where the game master has control of the game and the players are relying on the game master to run a good game. There's a lot of trust that goes into that. And empathy is a really amazing, cool thing that humans have apparently evolved with. Apparently it came from somewhere, mirror neurons and whatnot, that causes us, at least most of us, most being the keyword, not the narcissists, but that causes us to have empathy for other humans. This makes our collective experience way better. It enhances our survivability, but it also serves as a check, a balancing mechanism to ensure that GMs only make so many mistakes before they self-regulate and think, oh my God, I feel guilty. I made that person feel bad. And this is sort of a built-in learning facilitator mechanism, right? Imagine not having this. Imagine having a heater or a stove that had no temperature regulation switch. And then when you turn up the temperature, it just goes and goes and goes until it turns to plasma. And then it melts through the floor like lava and causes an environmental disaster, right? Without checks and balances, without any kind of regulatory system, most things are going to become problematic. And this is exactly the problem with narcissistic game masters when it comes to empathy. There is no empathy. There's no balancing mechanism. There's no self-diagnostic, internal working thing that causes the GM to stop and think, oh, that was a mistake. I should not have done that. I should apologize. I should not do that again because I don't want to get that result again, with the result being hurting someone's feelings. This is not existent to the narcissist GM. And this is why I can pretty safely put narcissistic GMs into just an overall bad category, because they really are not maybe capable of, I don't know if I can say that. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know if narcissists are capable of learning better or if they literally are incapable. I do not know. But let's just put it this way. A game master who does not have empathy for their players literally does not have empathy. And a game master who always thinks that they are right and that the players are wrong. This sets up a situation to just be a bad game master. There is no other way to put it, because both of those things are needed in order to be a good game master. You must have empathy for your players to be a good game master. In my opinion, I believe this is true. Drop a comment, let me know if you disagree with me. This may be a controversial take, but I think that that's true. You have to have empathy to be a good GM. You have to have empathy actually to be a good leader, honestly. There might be very, very specifically niche situations that could require a leader to disregard their empathy, or that might favor a leader who doesn't have an empathetic hang-up, but that would be an extremely rare situation. Maybe more like a military or like high-performing kind of corporate strategy type leadership thing, like where you have to only think about numbers or things like that, and that you can't really let empathy cloud your judgment. But that is not ever the case in D&D. D&D is not and never will be that kind of a leadership activity. It's just the wrong type of leader. So if you don't have empathy, you cannot be a good game master. You literally are missing out one of the fundamental parts of it. But also, you cannot always think that you are right. You can't. You can have great ideas and be super creative, but your player characters may want to pursue a different thing than you had in mind. This is not bad. This is good. But it flies in the face of the GM who always thinks that they are right. It will make that GM feel angry and resentful and rejected. And these are not healthy things for a GM to feel when players don't do what they want the players to do. Maybe these feelings will, maybe they stir up a little bit. Maybe you have a little bit of anger if a player completely rejects a plot arc that you thought was really cool, that you put a lot of work into. Maybe there'll be an instant of frustration. Maybe there'll be a moment of feeling even a little bit disregarded, or maybe even a moment of feeling unappreciated by players who choose to go murder hoboing instead of playing the game that you planned out. You may not altogether be unjustified in these things, and if you feel that enough, it might be a sign that you're playing with the wrong group. But most good GMs will feel a little bit of those things, but then quickly realize, okay, well, the players just don't want to do it, so what should we do instead? And then they will try, make it happen, go along with it, right? Just because you have a feeling about something, like maybe feeling a little frustrated the players didn't do what you wanted them to do, doesn't mean that you have to act on it. That also doesn't mean you're a narcissist. The working definition of narcissism that we're working from here, in my very limited scope of understanding based only on my anecdotal experiences and on reading on Google, basically leads me to draw the conclusion that no, what the narcissist would do is they would feel those negative emotions, yes, and then they would start a fight about them. It would be a conflict. They would lash out about it. They would punish the players for it. They would basically force the players to bend to their will. This is completely different than even the imperfect GM feeling a little bit emotional about it and struggling with how to handle it. Why would there even be a struggle for the GM who's not a narcissist? Because that struggle comes from empathy, trying to balance player expectations with GM expectations, right? And that balance can't even happen if you're riding that narcissistic line of not having empathy and always thinking that you are right. Drop me a comment and let me know what you think about that, because I would be interested in hearing your perspectives. I would like also to hear about your experiences playing with narcissistic GMs. Does this sound accurate to you? I will admit, I have had a very limited experience in D&D with narcissistic GMs. I don't know that I've ever actually played with a narcissistic GM. I have had, and this has been very rare, I have played with narcissistic players, but that has been quite rare. Those situations almost always ended in me just not inviting that player back. No, 100% of the time, it resolved with me not inviting them back, and that was how I always handled it. But it took me a while to learn to pick up on it. Unfortunately, I've had much more dealings with narcissists in business, which is a huge no-go. We'll never ever want to do business with a narcissist ever, because you just can't. You can't. How can you have any kind of dealings with someone who doesn't have empathy, who always thinks they're right? You can't deal with that person. There is no dealing with that person. So why would you want to play D&D with them? I wouldn't. I have a feeling you wouldn't want to either. I have a feeling you'll probably basically agree with me. I kind of foresee that maybe some people will have some insights about narcissism that are probably deeper than my understanding. I would love to hear about those too. Now, there's one other thing I want to talk about before we conclude here. I have created a few different products, and the product that I want to show you first, which is really my flagship product, which is my favorite product, is the GM Philosopher's Ultimate Adventure Generator. This ebook is 310 pages long, has 163 random roll tables, including a bunch of D100 tables for plug-and-play adventure elements, and so much more. So this basically has random table sections for dealing with creating all aspects of the adventure. Select the adventure themes, define the main quest or objective. Look at all these random tables included in this chapter. Choose the setting or location, just random tables for days. Identify the main antagonist. Check this out. In Identify the Main Antagonist, there are literally D100 table for plug and play villain templates. Let me show you this real quick. Scroll down here to chapter 4, Identify the Main Antagonist. We see that there are lots of tables to help roll antagonist stuff on, but then there's this Play Villain Templates D100 table. Look at this option 1, the Shadowed Regent. Who they are, physical description, what they want, methods and resources, hooks, right? And then there's the Bone Caller, there's the Crimson Raider, just like plug and play villain template. All 310 pages of this ebook are printer friendly, so you can grab this, print out what you want, and it's really affordable because right now I have it on sale for $5.99, just $5.99. The link is in the description. Purchase this on my personal bookstore, grab it, download it, print out what you need, random roll for days and days and days, generating all aspects of your adventure. Plus, this is how I support my channel. So if you love my channel and you want to support the content, well, hey, click on the link in the description, pay the $5.99, grab this ebook, use it forever, and consider me supported. And I would give you a big thank you and a massive thumbs up for my appreciation because, hey, I really appreciate every bit of support I get from you amazing people to help me run and grow the channel. I've also created a number of other published products that are available in hardcover, softcover, and ebook options. One of them is a 5-session adventure module, which is actually more like a 10-session adventure module when you stretch it out a little bit, but The Haunting at Ashburrow, 141 pages. This book basically outlines a demonic haunting adventure. The players are tasked with going to a small village and basically helping to rid the village of a creepy demonic monster that has been plaguing it for the last 400 years. There's also a bunch of information about my Regenesis home state here. You could run it in my world state or you could run it in your own world state, but check out a lot of this awesome content in here. Map legends, information about the story, synopsis for the game master, the full story for you to read, all kinds of stuff. Literally 141 pages of adventure on that one. We also have the Ultimate Dungeon Loot Randomizer. This classic GM Philosopher book features 10 D100 tables of amazing dungeon loot. If you love rolling dungeon loot and you want to come up with different stuff that your players would never see coming, cool artwork, awesome magic items that are system agnostic so that you can run them in really any system, well, this is the book for you. Features 61 pages of loot, making it a really awesome value. And once again, both of those products, The Haunting at Ashburrow and the Dungeon Loot Randomizer, are both available in hardcover, softcover, or ebook options. And you can find links down in the description to view full product demos of both of them so that you can kind of see what's in them, see what they look like before you purchase. I'm very passionate and I love and use all of these products. They are products that I created because I love them and because I wanted to make my games better. I fully believe they'll make your games better as well. And of course, every purchase you make goes to support the channel, creating new content, building the channel, growing the channel, etc. So thank you so much for your time and considering some of these products that I think are pretty awesome. And with that being said, I believe that's going to conclude my video for today. Thank you so much for coming back for another episode of GM Philosophy in the Morning. I'm here every single day at 6 a.m. creating videos about the best game in the world, D&D. I'm also here Monday through Friday for Coffee Break Live at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, where I basically go live and discuss some cool topic, and I bring the wisdom of the chat into the video to create as much value as possible. Roll some D100s for me at your next session, and I will see you awesome people on the next one.